Hi everyone, welcome back. Cowan Simulations finished off 2023 with a really well done version of Robinson's R66. This is the most comprehensive model that they've released so far to date for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's just a step up from their previous offerings. The texturing's a little bit better, the modeling's a little bit better, and this is the first one that they've released only for Microsoft Flight Simulator and that they don't have available on X-Plane, which makes sense because there already is an X-Plane version by a competitor, V-Skylabs, that's very well done, so it doesn't make sense for Cowan Simulations to do the development work for X-Plane as well here. This one still has options through the weight and balance menu, just like the other Cowan Simulation products. There's not as many options for this one. There's the side basket and floats, and you can also remove the doors, but there's not a spray kit, there's not a camera, there's not a light. Less offerings than some of the other Cowan Simulation products. The landing lights do work well, they just don't show in the replay recordings. I've really been looking forward to this one because not only do I have a very good rendition of it in X-Plane, but I went back and looked at my logbook for our turbine transition. I have 3.4 hours logged in the actual machine, and I was really looking forward to comparing it, and I've been really happy with this rendition. It performs really well, and it feels really close to the real thing. I've been having a lot of fun with it in my favorite helicopter places to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator. I'll put some links in the description, but from that first part of the video there was some clips from Cli4D Designs Philippines tropics area. I've got 3 different areas of his that are excellent scenery. He's got tons of coastline, little intricate areas for helicopters, and lots of landing areas. It's a great place to explore. And then of course the LA add-ons from Orbx for the medical and the police and fire helipads. It's great to fly around Southern California, around the LA area with the photogrammetry. It was kind of cool to check out the night lighting in the Cowan Simulations R66. It's kind of neat because the instrument lighting actually reflects pretty realistically off the cockpit glass. It was nice. The last area where I'm focusing these flights on today, descending down the mountains here, is in Revelstoke, British Columbia in Canada. I do have the add-on from Token Design. It's like a $10 add-on for the airport. It adds the airport and Eagle Pass helicopters, which I follow another YouTuber who in real life, I think his name is Eric Johnstone. I think I've linked his videos and other videos of mine that he flies out of Glacier helicopters, I think, but there's some freeware up on flightsim.to for Heli Logging and Revelstoke, and it includes the Glacier helicopter area and a bunch of helipads around. It's pretty good scenery. Now here I was actually pleasantly surprised with the Cowan Simulation flight model. You can see I didn't quite keep my heading fixed as I lifted off right there, because I changed my weight and balance when I got to this landing location, and I added the basket and the passengers, and I needed significantly more left pedal when I lifted off, which isn't typical in Microsoft Flight Simulator helicopters. So like I said, that was nice, because as I needed more torque for the increased weight, I had to increase my pedal input to match, and that's very realistic. It was very good. So the flight model on this R66, it's very good. I found it to be very realistic and handle exactly how I would expect it to from my experience with the real machine. In this flight, I'm descending down the mountain, so it actually there was a couple times where I was in the yellow arc on the airspeed indicator, so it was easy to get it up to speed. I didn't encounter any retracting blade stall. Of course, I backed it off when I realized where I had my speed in the arc coming down the mountain, as I was looking for different helipads and exploring. So I didn't experience any adverse effects. Most helicopters don't truly have enough power to get into retreating blade stall. Any helicopter that I've flown anyways, you'd really have to get it going in a dive and get it going pretty fast, but I haven't explored that area yet. But what I did find interesting when I was at that threshold is that the rotor RPM, it did actually respond as I expected it to, with changes in pitch. And as I pitched back or aft, the rotor RPM did increase, and I actually had to work at slowly slowing down the helicopter so that I didn't overspeed the rotor. Which, again, to me, that just says the maturity of the flight model and things that actually are happening within the helicopter flight model of Microsoft Flight Simulator. So my experience in the real machine, it was very similar to flying an R44, but it was smoother and more powerful. Like it had power reserves aplenty, and there was hardly any vibration. That's one thing I do like in this model too. There's like when you're sitting on the ground, the cyclic vibrates pretty realistically, which is normal for a two-bladed helicopter. Even though the R66 is so much smoother with the turbine power plant, it still has certain areas of the RPM spectrum where the two-bladed rotor just is off balance because it's a two-bladed rotor. So there are times when, like during startup and run-up, where there should be like a little more vibration. I'd like to see in the model, like in the panel, like the panel could shake a little bit during certain parts of the setup. You get kind of a wobble back and forth of the whole cockpit as the rotor starts to get up to speed at certain RPMs. And the tail boom tends to pretty much have a little bit of wobble in it all the time in all like the R22, 44, and R66s, and pretty much any helicopter I've seen running, just the vibration of the shaft spinning through the tail boom. I actually spent some time practicing approaches and landings on some of these pads. The air currents are challenging in Microsoft Flight Simulator. Doesn't exactly behave how platform landings behave in real life. In Microsoft Flight Simulator, you tend to get close to them and it bounces you back up and then tends to get squirrely, where in real life with a real machine in an area like this, you get a little bit of the squirreliness, but it's more of like a push against what you're trying to do. It's like as you're coming in forward towards the pad, it's almost like it pushes you back against it as you come in towards the air currents and ground effects of the pad itself. So, but the goal is actually to kind of come down on a slope and end up just over the pad in a hover as you come into ground effect and exit ETL. It's challenging, but how do you say it? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And take your time and just come into the approach and be prepared for what the currents are going to do and how they're going to push back against you. And just remember to make small corrections, small smooth corrections. Gauging your height above the ground as you're approaching and coming in for a set down is probably one of the hardest things to do in the simulator. Even in VR, it's challenging because of the different textures that developers use or what different pavement might look like, and depending on whether or how familiar you are with the aircraft, the sight picture and how it changes, it is one of the hardest things to gauge where you are from the ground. So like in the real thing, what my instructor would tell me was let it be a surprise. So you try not to fixate your view on something too close, try to keep it out, but that's challenging to do on those pad landings because you come in and you lose your horizontal frame of reference as you're looking at the side of the hill. So you have to try to find something to fixate, but not something too close. But you want to keep your movements small and just try to keep it smooth. As you slowly keep it smooth and keep approaching into the landing point, you let it be a surprise and it should set down nice and easy for you. But again, that's one of the challenging things in the simulators, and it's hard to gauge exactly how to set down, and you can't really feel the flex of the skids like you can in the real thing. I'm happy with the panel options as well. The R66 that I flew in real life had a panel similar to the one that you see in the video, with the digital or glass interface and some of the steam gauges as backup. That's pretty common for the type because they're usually private owners, so you see this type of cockpit. Well, I've seen it in 3 out of the 4 R66s that I've had actual contact with. But it's still, either way, it's a nice setup. It's pretty easy to read, and I'm using the Varjo Aero, and you're pretty much the cockpit view is a real-time recording of when I was flying, and the left eye display of the Varjo Aero. So, and I've only got a 3080 Ti, so I can't turn up my resolution all the way. So it's actually hard for me to read the airspeed on the glass display. So it's good to have that backup because I can glance at the needle, and even though I can't read the numbers, I know what they are. So I know what my airspeed is. But it's easy to switch between the different display types with the options. Switches right in the dash, and then of course the different options for the GPS. I've switched. I use the PMS 50, so the free version, which I think is pretty nice. It pretty much fulfills all the needs that I have for it. So it's nice that that's incorporated in the panel. overall, I'm very happy with the options and the modeling and the texturing. It's just a really well done add-on. I'm not super excited about the passenger models, but you know, I'd love to be able to switch them because I'm up here heli logging, and I'd like to be able to carry some heli-tac, orange vests, yeah, something maybe a little more realistic to the task at hand. But overall, system-wise and with the add-on itself, I'm really impressed. There's one little hiccup with the startup. You should be able to introduce the fuel with the cutoff on the dash at 15%, and that wasn't working for me when I pushed that in. I couldn't get the engine to start, but if I had that in before I engaged the starter, it would start up, and then I could roll on the fuel with the throttle, which that's another nice thing, this add-on. The throttle axis works properly for a turbine, and it also works properly even with the governor engaged, so I can actually leave the governor engaged and I can roll the throttle off to idle, and the RPM will actually start to fall. So the needles didn't split during like run up and test. What should happen when you disengage or roll off the throttle, disengage the governor, you should get a needle split. The engine should spool down much faster than the rotor RPM, especially with nothing on the pitch. Other than those two issues, I find it to be exceptional and fly very close to the real thing. I was very convinced. There's a lot of discussion over on the Microsoft Flight Simulator forum about the Cowan Simulation helicopters and the lean in cruise, and I didn't notice any issues with this model. I really don't see an issue with most of the Cowan Sim products to begin with. It's hard to discuss because there's a lot of misconceptions about how the tail rotor and anti-torque pedals in helicopters actually work and what is coordinated in trim flight. It's not the same as it is with fixed-wing aircraft, and the rotor is inherently unstable. Little changes in the wind current will change the way the rotor is balanced. Little shifts in the center of gravity change the way the rotor is balanced, and you're actually changing your tail rotor setting based on the torque that is coming through the airframe, which is also affected by the speed the aircraft is flying, the efficiency of the stabilizer surfaces, the efficiency of the tail rotor, whether or not it's in ETL, and the clean air that it's in, how the rotor wash from the main rotor is affecting it. There's a lot going on there, but slight changes are happening all the time. You're constantly making adjustments, which means you're constantly adjusting that tail rotor pedal. And sometimes in cruise flight, depending on your center of gravity, you're a little left pedal heavy, and sometimes in cruise flight, you're a little right pedal heavy. It really all depends on your weight and balance and where your center of gravity is. So it's kind of hard to say, but like, I don't really see an issue with the Cowan Sim models. They fly realistic to me. As always, if you enjoyed the content, please like and subscribe. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you in the next video.